right, this might be the single biggest executive order Trump has signed since taking office. And no one is talking about it. Not a peep from the press. But I'm telling you right now, it's a total game changer. I'm Rob on the right. Let's go take a look. All right, before we dive in, I just want to say thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps us out with the algorithm. Now, this EO, it's called Modernizing Payments to and from America's Bank Account, signed March 28th. It's the beginning of the end for the $500 billion waste, fraud, and fake invoices that plague every corner of the federal government. Why is no one in the legacy media covering this? Well, you already know why. This wasn't some random paperwork move. It took 45 days of legal work, coordination with Treasury, and yes, a clause in Trump's own CR that gave him the authority to block payments even if Congress approved them. That's right, Congress can no longer force the president to spend money on nonsense. Trump has the legal authority to say, nope, not worth it. And that clause, it's the exact one Democrats freaked out over when it passed. They knew it was coming. Listen to them admit it.
So I want to tell you why I'm voting against the Republican funding bill when it comes up for a vote tomorrow. You deserve to know the stakes here. First of all, you get this, Trump has a plan and he's implementing it. It gives Trump brand new spending powers. For instance, the ability to start new military programs that haven't even been authorized by Congress. At this moment of crisis, that sounds like a really dangerous idea. And it takes key guardrails off of presidential spending authority. That allows Trump and Musk to more easily move money from one account to the other.
Listen, I understand that had we gone into a shutdown, even for a handful of days, it would have been difficult. But it would have sent a message that the Democratic Party is not going to be bullied by Donald Trump. We are not going to let them write spending bills unilaterally that cut programs for people we care about, that give the president new and extraordinary power.
So what does this EO do? From now on, every single agency must include a payment ID, description, contact person, and justification for every dime they request. That's never been required before. The Treasury just blindly paid whatever was submitted. You could request $6 million for paper clips, and you'd get it rubber stamped, no questions asked. Elon and Doge tried to fix this back in February. Elon told every agency head no more anonymous payments, but without an executive order, it just didn't stick. The Treasury couldn't enforce it, but now it's the law. Game over.
And it is alarming how the financial operations and financial management is set up today. There is actually really only one bank account that's used to disperse all monies that go out of the federal government.
Time out. One bank account.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. A couple weeks ago, it had $800 billion in it, but it's the Treasury General account. So when you hear some of my colleagues here, what they're talking about in terms of the fraud, you have to ask, well, why is this allowed to happen at a financial level? Well, it's actually quite simple but alarming. The Treasury, up until now, and thanks to President Trump, we're fixing this. In fact, there was an executive order that he just signed the other day, which is protecting America's bank account, because it really is the taxpayers' money. One, we're changing the culture. The culture is been not a lot of caring and not a lot of commitment to doing what's right relative to financial operations. There's a $500 billion of fraud every year. There's hundreds of billion dollars of improper payments, and we can't pass an audit. The consolidated financial report is produced by Treasury, and we cannot pass it on. We have material weaknesses. What that means is that if I was a public company CFO, I would effectively be removed. I couldn't file financial statements. I couldn't issue securities, which of course we depend on. Can't pass an audit.
Right. The federal government cannot pass an audit. It's impossible. In fact, in order to pass an audit, you need the information necessary to pass an audit. You need to have the payment codes, you need to have the payment explanation, and you need to have a person you can contact to understand why that payment was made. None of those things were mandatory until just recently, just a few weeks ago. In fact, maybe last week?
Yeah, we're serving 580 plus agencies. And up until very recently, effectively they could say make the payment and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do.
I mean, imagine your household had one giant bank account and every cousin, in-law, random neighbor, and third cousin's ex-wife had a debit card tied to it. That's what we've been dealing with. No receipts, no oversight. And when Trump and Elon tried to clean it up, well, the swamp just started to scream. Why? Because they've been stealing from this account for decades. That's over $500 billion in fraud every year, and it's not some glitch. It's been the business model for as long as we can remember. But that all ends now. Next up, Ukraine. I don't say this lightly, but Zelensky's lost his mind. This week, he told reporters that he refuses to recognize U.S. military aid as debt. He literally said, "We don't owe you anything." Are you kidding me? We gave him billions, endless weapons, gear, intelligence, everything. And he's out there throwing a tantrum because Trump's switching support over to loans instead of handouts. Zelensky said, "We will not allow it. Sorry, buddy, you're not in charge anymore. You don't hold the cards." Then it got even darker. Zelensky went on Ukrainian TV and flat out predicted Putin would die soon, claimed that's a fact.
But it also depends on his age. He will die soon, and that's a fact, and it will come to an end. And it could come to an end even before he ends his absolutely safe and historically losing life. Historically lost life.
You don't say that about a nuclear-armed world leader unless you're trying to get your country shellacked. And wouldn't you know it, just hours later, one of Putin's limos exploded in Moscow. Massive fire, hush-hush investigation, and a whole lot of dots that don't need a genius to connect. This looks like an assassination attempt, and not one sanctioned by NATO or cleared by Trump. That means Zelensky went rogue. You want to talk about the greatest threat to peace in Europe? It's not Trump. It's not even Putin. It's this little joker in cargo pants who thinks he can run the West. His time is running out, and I'd be shocked if he even makes it to the next peace summit. Back in the U.S., Trump just pulled another major move. He revoked the security clearance of Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. You know, the guy who helped kick off Trump's first impeachment with that fake whistleblower setup over a phone call with, yeah, you guessed it, Zelensky.
Mr. Vindman, you testified in your deposition that you did not know the whistleblower.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, you testified in the deposition that you did not know who the whistleblower was, or is.
I do not know who the whistleblower is. That is.
So how is it possible for you to name these people and then out the whistleblower?
Per the advice of my counsel, I've been advised not to answer specific questions about members of the intelligence community.
Vindman's been dining out on that clearance ever since. Media contacts, consulting gigs, access to classified info, it's all gone now. Trump had enough. It's revoked, and it's not just him. Kamala, Biden, Hillary, Liz Cheney, Kissinger, Fiona Hill, all stripped of access to classified intel. And if you ask me, it's about time. One more big thing to watch, April 1st, Wisconsin. There's a massive election coming that could shape the next 4 years of Trump's presidency. It's a state Supreme Court race, but don't let that fool you. The winner will help decide how Wisconsin redraws its congressional map. Right now, Wisconsin sends 6 Republicans and 2 Democrats to the House. Dems want to flip that by redrawing district lines through the courts. That's why they're pouring millions into this race, because if they win, they'll rig the map and come after Trump and J.D. Vance next.
In Wisconsin, that's a 50-50 race, because we know Wisconsin's a 50-50 state.
Yeah.
And we have a strong Democratic candidate. Whoever wins is going to determine who has the majority in the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Why is that important? Because there are gerrymandered congressional lines right now in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a 50-50 state, as I mentioned, but there are 6 Republicans and only 2 Democrats out of an 8-person delegation because the lines are broken.
Right.
And as soon as possible, we need to be able to revisit that and have fair lines. The only way for that to be even a significant possibility is if you have an enlightened Supreme Court. And so, you know, I think that's an incredibly important race.
Also on the ballot, a constitutional amendment to require voter ID. That's right. If it passes, no more games. It'll be written into the state's constitution that you must show ID in order to vote. And that's huge. We might be winning, folks, but we got to keep the momentum going. This is Rob on the Right signing off. And if you like this video, check out this one over here or this one over here. Seriously, check them out. They're pretty good. And if not, see you around the campus.